Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. Some people, the Memorial Day weekend is still going on. Guys, today we are going to take a look at Michael Saylor's comments recently at an investor conference when he was asked about the importance of proof of reserves, or more importantly, how he felt about MicroStrategy showing proof of reserves. Now, before we get into that, quick word from the sponsors, and we will be right back to dive into his comments because, as I said before, there appears to be some discrepancy between what Michael Saylor actually said in that particular investor conference and the messaging that is being portrayed on Twitter and other social media platforms. Anyways, first, word from our sponsor, then we will be right back. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. They make absolutely beautiful Bitcoin branded products. They just dropped their first one. It is the solid aluminum Bitcoin clock. I had to get my hands on it so that I could show it to you guys. Take a look. Really, really nice piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Head on over to archamp.co. The link is going to be in the show notes. That is Archimedes Emporium. Head on over there. All right, guys, let's take a look at this video. Now, the actual video itself is like 7 minutes. We're gonna just look at specifically 3 minutes of it, just so that people can hear the comments before and after the specific clip where Michael Saylor supposedly explains that the proof of reserves are bad. So let's take a look at this.
Make the following point. A lot of people learn stuff from FTX and Mt. Gox, but I'm not sure they learned the things that the institutional community needs to learn going forward. The current conventional way to publish proof of reserves is an insecure proof of reserves. It actually dilutes the security of the issuer, the custodians, the exchanges, and the investors. It's not a good idea. It's a bad idea. It's like publishing the address and the bank accounts of all your kids and your phone numbers of all your kids, and then thinking somehow that makes your family better. It doesn't make your family better. So no institutional grade or enterprise security analyst would think it's a good idea to publish all of the wallet addresses such that you can be traced back and forth, and every future transaction can be traced. I would say, go to AI, put it in deep think mode, and then ask it, what are the security problems of publishing your wallet addresses, and how might they undermine the security of the company over time? It'll write you a book. It'll be 50 pages of security problems. So the problem with proof of reserves, the way that people do it right now, is it's first of all, it's a proof of assets that is insecure, and it is not a proof of liabilities. And so if you really want crypto security and you're maxi about this, my suggestion is buy Bitcoin, self-custody your Bitcoin. It's pretty freaking obvious, right? You should own the Bitcoin yourself if that's what you want. If you're going to be a securities investor, okay, if you invest in securities, what you want is an institutional grade proof of assets and proof of liabilities with them netted out, okay? And the best practice of that is not to publish the wallet. The best practice of that would be have a Big Four auditor that does an audit that checks to make sure that you actually have the Bitcoin. And then you also have to check to make sure the company hasn't rehypothecated or pledged the Bitcoin or entered into any debt or credit obligations where the Bitcoin is pledged.
Okay. So he's obviously not wrong about that aspect, but I just want to point out, right, for the people who don't know me or aren't aware of this channel, I am not a Michael Saylor fanboy. At the end of the day, he's issuing shares, right? Like, that's what it is. He's buying Bitcoin, he's issuing shares. What's very interesting, right? What's very interesting is he tells you, yeah, ICOST, exactly like Fort Knox here. Let me just put the comments up on so that people can actually see. But essentially, what is happening here is that, look, he wants you to know that he's buying Bitcoin. Okay? Like, obviously, he wants you to know it because he keeps telling us about it. If we take a look through Twitter, right, it's just one announcement after another. I've bought Bitcoin, I've bought Bitcoin, I've bought Bitcoin. So this whole idea that it is, he's talking about this whole like, well, that's not very safe. My guy, you've been telling everyone that you've been buying Bitcoin for over 3 years. Do you think that people are wondering how, like, does MicroStrategy actually hold Bitcoin? Do they? Yeah. So I think that I think the real concern here is, if you ask me, is that it has to do with Coinbase. I'm not sure. It's not about necessarily not trusting Michael Saylor, because look, in all fairness, if you are buying MicroStrategy shares because you want Bitcoin, then you're doing it wrong. Okay. You need to just buy Bitcoin. And that's exactly what Michael Saylor tells you here. Okay. And not so many words, right? If you actually want the qualities of Bitcoin, then you're just going to buy Bitcoin. You're not going to go and just get exposure to the Bitcoin asset, right? So essentially what that means is I want to have exposure to Bitcoin's price. I want to have exposure to the risk, to the upside, but I don't want to deal with any of the self-custody stuff. Hey, if you're buying MicroStrategy shares, you should be under no illusion whatsoever that MicroStrategy is not Bitcoin. And if you're just figuring out that MicroStrategy is not Bitcoin, you may want to reassess what your decision making was how your decision making was going. Anyways, let's take a look at some of the comments from fellow Bitcoiners here as to what's going on. See what Psychedelic Bart, always a favorite pleb, one of the first people that I followed 6-7 years ago. Anyways, if I had to guess, Strategy won't provide proof of reserves due to an agreement they have with Coinbase. Very interesting. Coinbase probably uses algorithms to split the BTC into many different wallets, and Coinbase doesn't want that to be public. It's an interesting take. I don't know if I agree with it, but I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't work at Coinbase and I don't have access to this quote unquote specialized knowledge. So anything I would say here would just be pure speculation. All right, so let's see here. LP Capital, always appreciate his takes. Silence all the haters. Yeah, saying we won't prove that we actually have the Bitcoin is really silencing them. This is the dumbest response to a proof of reserves question ever. Might have to unload those March 2026s tomorrow. All right, so interesting stuff. Maybe there you go. There's somebody who was buying MicroStrategy shares. But again, right? To a certain extent, I mean, I followed this account for a really long time. I don't think he's under the illusion that MicroStrategy is Bitcoin. But he is more concerned with the fact that MicroStrategy may not be holding all the Bitcoin that they say they are. That's what it is. And then, of course, right? We see Michael Saylor talking about how it's unsafe to publish those public addresses. But at the same time, he wants the rewards of people knowing how much Bitcoin MicroStrategy has. So it kind of sounds like one of those having your cake and eating it too type of scenarios, doesn't it? It's it's a little bit strange. Anyways, I got to tell you, from listening to this and listening to him say what he had to say, I don't think this is really about Michael Saylor. I think that it's people expressing their doubts over Coinbase. And the other piece is this whole idea that proof of reserves isn't necessarily secure. We see exchanges like Kraken doing it. OKX, even, and I know the shitcoin casinos, Binance as well. So these particular platforms do claim to be showing proof of reserves. Now, the other point is that maybe because MicroStrategy holds so much Bitcoin, and there's so much demand for their proof of reserves, maybe a solution is devised in order to kind of provide the best of both worlds, where you can provide proof of reserves, but at the same time you're minimizing, your attack vector. The last piece of it is this, right? It's a publicly traded company. So I don't disagree with Michael Saylor in terms of, we have auditors and we should, right? We should be able to trust the auditors. The issue is that we cannot 100% trust the auditors. And we have evidence of this when we look at companies in the past, like WorldCom and Enron. Those are always the two best examples of this. But there are many, many companies, unfortunately, that have been able to fudge the numbers through time. And again, I do get his point, right, about showing the liabilities, right, essentially explaining that Bitcoin isn't being rehypothecated. I get all of that, right? The question is, does Coinbase and MicroStrategy, is there an agreement between the two of them where Coinbase must not rehypothecate MicroStrategy's Bitcoin? I wonder. Look, in all fairness, right? If I had half a million Bitcoin, and I believe at that point that would allow me to command a certain amount of power when negotiating how my Bitcoin is being custodied, I think I would ask for that type of thing. Like I would ask for that type of agreement, of course, right? Those agreements don't necessarily have to be upheld, right? This is the point, right? Unfortunately, laws are broken. But yeah, I would ask for that in order to be able to, CYA, cover my ass, right? I'd have no choice, especially having that much Bitcoin. But anyways, guys, the whole point of this clip, the whole point of this live episode was just to kind of debunk the big FUD that's going around right now. Where essentially, Michael Saylor is saying that, he will not provide proof of reserves, but indeed, right? And people are saying that's red flags. However, he is indeed telling you MicroStrategy is a different product. It's an equity product. And therefore, it being an equity product, it is better bound by equity rules. If you want Bitcoin and you want to have the security of Bitcoin and you don't want to worry about some third party rugging your Bitcoin, then take self-custody. And he even said it in the clip. But the problem is that somebody just took 17 to 19 seconds of it to make it seem like he didn't say that at all, right? So anyways, guys, that's my take. Look, there is a lot of FUD. We are definitely in a bull run. There are some people already saying that the bull run's over and all this crap. Listen, there is so much noise in this space, okay? Don't be afraid to double check what it is that you believe, right? If you see something come out and somebody and everybody's screaming about it, don't be afraid not to take a side, right? Don't be afraid to dive into that story all on your own, right? Yeah, exactly. I cussed. Hold on a second. See, it's terrible because I have like ADHD, so I'll just swap topics. Trust the auditors, right? Exactly, right? In 2008, how well did they do, right? All of those mortgage-backed securities, right? Did anybody, you think for a second that you think the auditors actually knew that garbage mortgages were being packaged with very high quality mortgages? Not a chance. And if they did, they were definitely not incentivized to say anything about it. So yeah, anyways, guys, going back to my original point, a lot of FUD, a lot of random information, a lot of people essentially trying to create engagement. And the truth of the matter is that you don't have to pick a side. You don't have to pick a team. Okay. You are incentivized to do what is best for you. And the reality is that what is best for you is to do your own research. And don't be afraid to question both sides of a narrative, right? Everybody's incentivized for themselves. Like, and I'm not saying this outside of myself. I'm saying this, yes, me too. Right, exactly. See, Theodore just also said it, right? Look at Enron and WorldCom. That's right, guys. I mean, this has all happened before. Okay, this has all happened before, and I'm not saying that MicroStrategy is definitely going to blow up and blah blah blah. Although I gotta tell you, I don't think it's going to happen in this cycle. I do believe that we are going to get this massive bull run, and of course, conveniently, certain things are going to happen, which of course will create an unwinding and. Maybe even there's going to be some too big to fail action, and possibly it's going to have to be, hey, we need to save the system and this and that and whatever. It doesn't matter. But look, guys, The reality is that Bitcoin, all on its own, the government, thank God, has zero control over this crap. The corporations, thank God, have zero control over Bitcoin. Okay, it's fantastic. And all you need to do is take self-custody. And if you're worried about self-custody because people like Jameson Lopp keep showing you one person after another getting wrench attacked, and I'm also guilty for that because I find those stories interesting, just remember, you can get multi-sig. Okay, multi-sig screws up the attacker. Now they're wasting their time. They're totally wasting their time. Anyways, yeah, guys, it is crazy. This cycle is definitely lots of fun. This week, for the people that are there, you're at the conference, at the Bitcoin conference in Vegas. I'm seeing a lot of really fun tweets coming out of there. A lot of hype, a lot of people looking excited. You know what? 2 cycles ago, I would have had FOMO, but since I've already been there, I just don't care. But guys, have a good time over there. Be safe. All right. Don't forget, just because you value your human life and the people that you love, it doesn't mean that other people that you are bumping into these places look at human life and value it the same way as you do. Okay. There's nothing wrong with being safe. Okay. There's nothing uncool about living to see another day. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.